Am I the a-hole for following a woman around Walmart without her consent?
I don't know if a-hole is the right word for this. Creepy, maybe?
Just a little creepy.
A little creepy.
Context needed. I was a stay-at-home mom with 4 children. My husband was military and I went to the local Walmart to get groceries and things needed for the house. Now, 3 of my children are, at this time, 8, 5, and 3, and my oldest daughter was just a few months old, and 2 of my boys are on the autism spectrum. Apparently, my one boy who isn't on the spectrum, the 5-year-old, was having a bad day. While we were in the store, he started acting up, but wanted a toy. I said no because his behavior was inappropriate for receiving a toy. He began to cry and scream. Now, my boys are very loud to begin with, and this time was no exception. This set off my oldest and more severe on the spectrum son, and he began to have a mini meltdown.
That's a tough situation.
Oh man. I feel like the place where I see children having meltdowns the most, number 1 is an airplane. Number 2, in a grocery store. There are so many things in a grocery store that a child wants. You can't give them everything they want, or you will walk out of there with $3,000 worth of...
Not to mention, it's just so stimulating. Every time I leave the grocery store, I am more broke and also very tired.
It makes me wonder what good parents do when they take their kids shopping. How do you say no to a child and have them not have a temper tantrum? Like, is there a way to control that situation? I don't know. We're going to have to deal with that soon. I'm worried.
Parental advice is so polarizing, but I thought it was an interesting statement. She said that when you're talking to your kid who's behaving badly, your feelings are valid, but your behavior is not. I thought that was interesting.
I feel like that's relevant to adults too.
Yeah. You're right to feel upset or sad or scared. The way you're behaving is not acceptable. But I'm not a parent yet. I don't know.
I chose to purchase the few items I had in my cart and leave until my children calmed down. Of course, people are looking at me and I'm embarrassed and fed up because I just need to get to groceries for the week. And of course, I have my spawn acting a fool. I was leaving the checkout and digging in my daughter's diaper bag for my car keys, and that's when it happened. We will just call her Karen. Karen comes up to me to my ear and says,
"Can you shut your kids up?"
Oh my gosh.
Based on experience, it is in fact very hard to quote unquote shut your kids up.
Even without this context, that's just a terrible thing to say.
It is.
Oh God. And I hate that her name is Karen. As you all know, my mom's name is Karen. Lovely Karen though. Good Karens.
Her name's not actually Karen.
I know.
Yeah.
Whenever we hear Karen though, you know?
Like triggers you, eh?
It's triggering, yeah. My mom's a nice Karen.
Well, I'm taken aback at this woman's statement. I said that I was just leaving. She then said,
"I'm so tired of hearing spoiled kids scream."
"Excuse me, they are crying because they aren't spoiled." I had said no. A devilish smile crossed my face and my petty came out.
Oh, I know, Patty.
So I turned around and followed this woman around the entire store with my screaming children in tow.
No way. I love that.
I love that. Everywhere she went, I went. She yelled at me and told me to leave her alone, but I smiled and spoke over my crying children. Oh, I was leaving, but you reminded me that I needed to pick up a few more things.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, just a few more things. Oh, where are you going? Down the toilet paper aisle?
I think I need some toilet paper too.
Toilet paper too. Yeah. Maybe I'll wipe your face, you stinky little hole.
Let me clarify that my middle son, who is not autistic, is the one who was having the bad day. Normally, my kids were generally well behaved, as I had my 2 youngest in one cart that I pushed, and my groceries were in the cart behind me that I was pulling. Oh my God, this sounds so difficult as a mother already. I always feel so bad for parents, like especially like on airplanes that have like screaming kids and stuff like that, and like everyone is annoyed. You're sweating. You're just trying to shut your kids up, but you can't, and they're just making your life so difficult. We got to give parents with screaming children a little bit of grace.
Yeah. You kind of have to laugh at it. Remember our flight back from Mexico? It was surround sound of babies crying. There was one in front of us, one behind us, one to our left. It was crazy.
Surround sound.
I'd move my headphone, like, almost like a harmony.
We really got to give grace to parents like that are dealing, like the fact that you have 2 separate carts. You're pushing one cart with your kids in it. They're being unruly. You have another cart that you're pushing with the groceries in it. Someone in that scenario might offer to help if they were a decent person. But no, let's just make it that much more difficult. Karen. My 2 oldest were holding the sides of the cart ahead of me so I could keep an eye on them so they wouldn't get lost. This is a habit they still have, holding the cart. My oldest was screaming, but mostly at his brother to be quiet and that he wasn't going to get the toy now. He would get stuck in statements or questions and repeat them incessantly. I was originally going out to the car and let the middle boy calm down, but Karen stepped in instead. While she went around the store, I simply picked up more groceries that I needed anyway. She just happened to be going to areas as needed. It was only a matter of 10, maybe minutes later that I followed her before I left. Also, this happened about 18 years ago. My daughter's 18 and a half, and my oldest son said he didn't even remember it. So I told my children the story. I watched Charlotte's awesome petty videos and decided to share this with the internet. So, are you an a-hole?
I didn't know it was 18 years ago.
You are a little petty.
Petty, I would say. I don't know the context of this woman's life, but she must have been having a bad day to tell a mother holding, what was it, 3 kids at the time? To tell them to shut up? I don't know, man. I would never do that. I would offer to help, I'd like to think.
It was petty. That probably pissed you off. Yeah, it probably pissed Karen off too, but did she need to make that comment? No, she didn't.
I agree. She didn't need to make that comment, and she got what she deserved.
Which is more screaming. How do you think she feels? You're surrounded by those screaming kids all day long, having to deal with it, and it's just your life, okay? So sorry that she has to spend 10 minutes out of her day listening to someone scream.
Oh, of course, she would be such a better parent.
I'm a better parent than you. My kids would never. Shut up. Let's ask the audience. I'm child-free by choice, but that doesn't stop me from having common sense and being able to tell that there's a huge difference between a kid who's having a meltdown because a mother is trying her best and at her wit's end, a kid that is throwing a fit because they're being ignored. That Karen got what she deserved. I don't know, man. Like, she just had to listen to some screaming kids for like 10 minutes longer.
Yeah, just go walk away.
Like on it, but she couldn't because she was she was being followed around.
You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have to tell. The mom knew that she was struggling. You know, her kids are crying. You don't have to go kick them while they're down. You know what I mean?
Right. I have Karen's reaction when someone is coughing nonstop. There are dozens of us in this tiny space. Go cough outside or go home, adult. You can't get mad at kids crying. You can get good headphones, including the Bose QC45. There you go.
Oddly specific. I love my Bose headphones. This is not sponsored.
There are ways around it. You know what I mean? If you don't like loud noises,
walk away.
Just walk away.
Walk away.
Have some headphones in.
You know what I can't stand is like people with dogs that let them pee on lawns.
I'm sorry. Where are the dogs supposed to pee?
Literally, she's like, make him go somewhere else. And I was like, what do you mean? He's a dog. He can't. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, this is a polarizing conversation.
This is a polarizing conversation. I get that it's annoying. But
the thing is, it depends on the context of the lawn. If someone has this beautiful landscaped lawn, I'm not letting my dog anywhere near that. Obviously, I'm respectful. Sometimes you can't control it. Like, sometimes they'll just like stop and poop. And you're like, oh, sorry, I'll go pick up that said.
I don't think you're the a-hole. I think you're a little petty. And sometimes you need to be an a-hole, right?
I think sometimes you got to be an a-hole to make your point, you know?
I don't think you are an a-hole. You might have been a little bit of an a-hole in this situation. I don't mind it. I actually kind of like what you did. I think it was justified.
You have 3 crying kids and someone tells you to shut them up. I would honestly have done something more extreme. Probably followed them with my crying children and then farted on them. That's what I would have done. Good for you for keeping your cool.
Am I the a-hole for serving divorce papers to my ex at his job the day before he thought he was coming back home? I'm sorry, this is really long. Backstory. I, 59 female, was married to my now ex, 57 male. We'll call him Ed, for 10 years. Together for 13, but originally met him 40 years ago as teenagers. He was in my circle of friends, but we never dated. We used to live in Florida, but when I was 19, I moved back to Michigan, where I'm originally from. 27 years later, I went back to the city in Florida where I used to live to visit friends. I ran into Ed while on vacation, and we began talking on the phone daily. 3 months later, he left Florida and moved in with me. 3 years later, we were married. Not my first, but his first. We had our ups and downs, but mainly we got along fine and didn't argue much. He would throw tantrums if things didn't go his way and would punish me by sleeping on the edge of the bed. Okay.
That sounds like great to me. Charlotte sleeps in the middle of the bed.
I know, I don't mind that.
She sleeps on a 45-degree angle.
Can you do that the next time we have a fight so that I have the whole bed?
No, we just need to get a bigger bed.
We already have a king-size bed.
Sometimes when she gets scared and she just wants to cling on to me or grab me, and it like jars me up, you know? I'm like sleeping peacefully, dreaming about puppies or, you know, chocolate or whatever. And she grabs me and I'm just like, oh, God.
2 years into our marriage, things went horribly wrong when he got into it was horrible. One night, I finally had enough, and I was on the phone with my mother-in-law telling her I was sending back to Florida when the sheriff's department knocked on my door. Someone had found my husband unconscious, severely beaten in a ditch a block from our house. We lived in a small village with woods across the street. I raced to the hospital and didn't recognize him when I saw him. He was so swollen and bruised. Now, my husband was a man who could fight, and he was strong. Come to find out, it took 3 men to do this. They thought they could rob him since it was payday, but he'd been home and purposefully left his wallet at home. I sat with him 24/7 while he was in the ICU. I slept on a couch in his room. I prayed for him, bathed him, and took care of him even after he came home. This actually saved his life. He got clean and went back to work full time, always putting me and my grandson first before his needs. He went to work and came home. That's it. 4 years later, I finished my education and became an ordained priest and have been the pastor at my church ever since. At first, he didn't mind, but then he would say things like, I didn't sign up for this, even though I never pushed church on him. I knew he believed in God and he prayed daily. I would invite him to Christmas and Easter, and he also came home when I ordained and when my grandson, who calls him Grandpa, was baptized. For several years, things were really good. Then suddenly, he began coming home from work, showering, changing clothes, and leaving. Why is that a red flag? Coming home, shower, changing clothes, and leaving.
Where are you going?
I almost think, like, was he cheating or something?
Yeah.
I love how you know that.
No, I'm just saying it's like a red flag.
Yeah, it is a red
Someone
flag.
comes home, is like, hey, where you going? I'm just gonna shower and change for my buddies that I'm gonna go see. No, he's going to Slamtown for sure.
At first, he said it was to watch whatever sports were playing on TV because we didn't have live TV. He then told me he'd be back whenever he got back. Then things went back to how they were. We laughed a lot, we joked around, and I began getting the usual kiss goodbye before he left for work. Okay, so the affair was over. One night, he had done his laundry, like he always did, and I talked to him while he was folding it. He never wanted me to do his laundry, so that wasn't new. We ended the night laughing as he was trying on old clothes. The next morning, I woke up and went to the living room to ask what time he had to be at work, but he was gone. I assumed he had to be there early. I walked back into the bedroom and saw his keys on the bed, which made me wonder why he would walk to work on such a cold day. It was December 1st. I started leaving the bedroom once again and noticed his laundry basket missing. So I went to the laundry room and it wasn't there. I went back into the bedroom and noticed his closet empty.
Whoa. Sounds like someone's making a run for it.
I called him to ask where he was and asked if he had moved out, and of course his answer was yes. Come to find out, he'd met a woman at his job who works for one of those shopping apps where people buy and deliver your groceries. He moved in with her. Over the next 6 months, he called almost daily and would say things like, our marriage will survive this, just give me time.
What?
He even told me he would be mad if I began dating. I'm sorry, wait, hang on one second.
Do you know what you call that?
What do you call that?
It's what we call a double standard.
Period.
Dude, I mean, he comes back, he starts showering, going out to watch sporting events. I'll come back when I come back. Oh, yeah. He's for sure boning someone.
He admitted to it. So he's essentially trying to keep her from seeing anybody else, trying to like leave breadcrumbs to say like, no, I'll be back.
Yeah, just wait for me.
While I go to Slam Town, Pound Town. During one of our phone calls, he told me he wasn't happy with her and was going down to Florida to visit family. Oh, good. Well, I'm just here waiting for you. Let me just sit here and wait for you to be done with your affair. Oh, goody.
Guys, you are never going to believe what has just happened to me. Story time. So you know those people that always say, look out for the red flags in a relationship. Turns out, colourblind. I ignored the biggest, brightest, waving red flag. So I've been with my boyfriend, who we'll call Steve, for about 2 years. Sweet, funny, honestly, the best boyfriend I could have asked for. It all started when I noticed that his childhood best friend, Amy, hated me. From the moment we met, she had decided that I was the villain in our story. Every time I was around, she'd make these passive-aggressive remarks to Steve. Like, wow, you used to have such good taste in girls, Steve. I just brushed all of these things off like she's probably really protective. You know, they've grown up together. She just started like showing up unannounced to our date nights, pull up a chair, sit between us, full-blown third wheeling. She'd post throwback pictures to her and Steve from before we were dating. Like, oh, remember when we were so close? Fast forward to Steve's birthday party. I have spent weeks planning it. Do you know how hard it is to get a room full of men to know what they're doing, to be on time and to where they're going? This girl turns up in a white dress. Like, I actually have a surprise for Steve. I'm already side-eyeing, hoping that it is actually a really, really nice surprise for him. Girly Pop whips out a scrapbook with their childhood pictures together. She goes, Steve, you don't need anyone else. Just Me. I have loved you since we were kids. The way my soul left my body. Steve is sat there looking absolutely bamboozled. Don't know why, Steve, because if you condoned the behaviour previously, we wouldn't be in this mess. I'm waiting for him to be like, Amy, what the hell? No. Steve gets up, walks towards her, gives her a big hug. I'm like, nah, fuck this, I'm out. And walked out of the party that I had planned. Now this is where I need your advice, because Steve is texting me saying that I've overreacted to the whole situation. I don't know, I think I'm done here. So what do you think? Did I dodge a bullet?